Hi everyone, this is Yana Smakula and thank you so much for joining me today. In this video, I'm sharing several easy-to-make holiday snowflake shaker cards made with the help of Spellbinders dies. I couldn't decide which color sequins and beads I wanted to use for my shaker elements, so I ended up making a bunch of cards using different colors. All cards are pretty much identical, but just the shaking bits are different. Before we get started, I wanted to mention that I work full-time for Spellbinders as an in-house creative designer. I do a lot of work for them, I create many projects, and film lots of videos. I filmed this particular video at home on my own time simply because I wanted to do so and because I love these products. So let's jump right in. I already prepared some supplies for my cards, and I will be using white woodgrain cardstock from Hero Arts for the front of my card. You can also get this cardstock from other companies. I honestly love this paper to pieces for clean and simple projects, and I think there's nothing better. I also have an A2 side-folding card base made out of white cardstock. This is Nina Solar White, 110 pounds, rather sturdy cardstock, as it's best to use something sturdy as the shaker can get quite heavy. And finally, I have clear acetate sheets from Hero Arts. I'll use these to make the screens for my shaker elements. I'm going to use this beautiful Snowflake Snippet die. I'm using the largest one from this set. There are also smaller elements similar to this one, and I'm going to position it on my white woodgrain panel and will tape it in place to make sure it's not going to move. I use any low-tack tape that I can find to tape my dies when I need to make a precise cut. Here I'm just using old washi tape. So I'm going to get my Platinum 6 die cutting and embossing machine and will cut this piece out. I actually just need to cut the shape, the square shape in my white wood grain panel. I don't need the actual snowflake piece just yet. I usually prefer to use my larger Platinum die cutting and embossing machine, and I actually have it sitting off to the side here. But because it's so big, I can't really fit it inside my video frame at home, so that's why I pulled the smaller machine. I want to create a window shaker card, so that means I need to die cut an identical window in my card base panel. I'm going to align my wood grain piece on the card base and will once again tape my die in place. So I'm using my wood grain piece as a guide here to know where I need to make the cut in the base of my card so that the cuts are aligned. Next, I'm going to open my card and we'll send it through the machine to cut. Make sure you open your card base or else you can cut through the front and the back of your card base. Now, I recently got a question on Instagram about die cutting a wood grain textured cardstock. The question was, will the wood grain flatten if you run it through the machine? And the answer is no, it will not flatten at all. If you use a shim, or similar to what I did just now, so instead of using one sheet of cardstock, I used two, the wood grain texture will flatten a little bit, but not too much. It will still be visible. But if you cut it normally as you usually do with your dies, you shouldn't have any problems with the wood grain texture getting flattened. And you can always use a small piece of this paper and test it in your machine just to be sure. All machines are slightly different. It did not flatten in my machine, but I can't really be sure about yours. I need to do some more die cutting for this card. I recently came across this fabulous burnished rose mirror cardstock from Tonic Studios. It has satin finish to it, and it is absolutely fabulous. I think I had a sheet of this paper in one of my Simon's kits, and I just had to get more of this fabulous paper. If you know me, you know that I love to use mirror cardstock for all of my die cutting projects. I'm going to use this paper to die cut my snowflake piece. Now, to make it easier to adhere the die cut element in place, I'm going to add a layer of double-sided sticky to the back of my paper before cutting, and I will simply die cut a sticker. I'm using scrapbook adhesive sheets here. You can also use other products, for example, Stick It from Ken Oliver, or Easy Cut adhesive from ThermoWeb. Or if you have neither of those, you can use spray adhesive or glue after you've cut your element out. Notice how I'm placing my die at an angle here. Now this makes it easier on my wrist as the die doesn't resist as much when I send it through the machine. And I always try to place my dies that have a flat edge like this one at an angle. It makes a world of a difference. I'm also die cutting a word joy from the Ho 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 set from Spellbinders, and to pop this joy die cut up, I'm going to cut it once again, but out of fun foam this time. I'm again adding sticky. I did not add any sticky to the back of the mirror paper, but I did add sticky to both sides of my fun foam. I'll use sticky on one side to adhere the paper joy onto the fun foam joy, and the other side will be used to stick this element onto my project. And here you can see this die cut. It cut no problem through fun foam and 2 layers of adhesive. But you do have to use specialty adhesive to make sure it will cut like this. The die cutting portion of this video is done, but before we move on to the card assembly, I wanted to mention the mat that I'm filming on today. I actually have this mat on my desk all the time, but I cover it up with a grid paper pad from Simon when I work so that I don't get this mat dirty. Now, what's awesome about this mat, and why I'm mentioning it in this video, is it has a magnetic strip at the top. Not all the way, so there's not a magnet all the way through the mat, but just a magnetic strip at the top where you see my dies placed. And it's very handy when you're working with dies and die cutting, and you want to make sure your dies stay in place and don't go wandering all around your desk. Okay, let's go back to the card we're making today. I'm going to cut my acetate sheet slightly larger than my snowflake element, and I'll need 2 acetate pieces for this. And next, I'm going to use strong double-sided tape and will adhere the acetate piece from the back of my white wood grain panel to form the first screen. The next step is to adhere the snowflake die cut, and because I cut it out with a sticky sheet on the back, I have an instant sticker and I don't have to fuss around with glue. I love to use this trick. It saves me so much time. Now let's go ahead and build the shaker walls. I have this new to me product from Darice, double-sided sticky strips. So basically it's foam adhesive, but not squares or circles or tape, but convenient strips. I can't tell you how much time I used to spend using little foam squares to build a wall around my shaker or cutting white foam tape into smaller strips to save it. These little strips work much better and they actually last a long time too. I made 6 shaker cards, I think, all using these strips, and I still have more than a half of pack left. To fill my shaker, I'm going to use various beads and sequins from Pretty Pink Posh, and I'm using this Nuvo spoon from Tonic. I've had it for quite some time and I've used it to get glitter and embossing powders out of jars, but it also works well to pick up the little sequins and beads and transfer them onto your project. I'm using gold beads for this particular card, but I also used clear for another project and filled some of my shakers with blue sequins as well as various sequin mixes. And I have all of the products that I'm using today listed below in my video description and in the blog post, so check it out if you're looking for specific product names. To be honest, I never know if I've added enough sequins to my shaker or enough beads, so I just eyeball it every time, and once I feel I have enough, I close it up. Because I'm making a window card, I'm using another piece of acetate to close this shaker up so you can see through the shaker to the inside of the card. If you didn't want to make a window shaker, you can use a card base to close this up. I'm going to adhere this piece onto the base of my card, and here's my shaker card base ready. I heat embossed some additional messages in white embossing powder onto red cardstock, and I used stamps from Hero Arts here. I trimmed them into a banner in a skinny strip and foam mounted onto the card along with the die cut joy. I'm also using some rose gold sequins from Pretty Pink Posh to embellish my cards, and they go really well with this burnished rose paper that I'm using from Tonic Studios. Like I mentioned, I couldn't stop at making just one card, so I made a bunch. Here they are, all using different color sequins or beads. Now, they didn't take long to make at all, especially since I was making several at a time. I didn't make all of them into a window shaker, some are just shakers, so you can't see through to the inside of the card. This video is a part of a holiday blog hub by Spellbinders. Be sure to visit my blog, the link is in the video description to hop along. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below, and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet done so. If you are subscribed but are not receiving new video notifications, please check the bell icon on the homepage of my channel to get notified every time there's a new video published. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!